Hi everybody, it's Kim Wilson here and we're ready for January card class on the snowy day. It's probably a good thing that we didn't have class live today because the roads are pretty bad and I didn't get the driveway finished yet, so I'll be shoveling some more snow after class today. But we're going to start out today with watercoloring. So you might want to grab your card kit, and we're going to start with the watercolor wash technique cards. So that one's going to be first. And I just wanted to talk a little bit first about watercoloring. I'm not a watercoloring expert. I'm sure there's lots of videos out there that are great on watercoloring, but I just want to go over a few basics on watercoloring. Of course, you can watercolor with just water and a paintbrush, so that's the easy way to do it if you don't have any other tools. Our newest tools for watercoloring are called aqua paint or water painters. I guess before we had aqua painters and now we have water painters, and these come in 3 different sizes. So we've got a large brush and then medium and small brushes here for watercoloring. So I'm going to use the big one today because we're doing a watercolor wash. So that's basically just a large background of watercoloring. Okay, paper. In the catalog for Stampin' Up! We have Fluid 100 watercolor paper, which is a nice quality of watercolor paper. There's also shimmery white cardstock, which is good for watercoloring. And I don't know if you can see a shimmer to it, but it's kind of almost plasticky, so it's not going to buckle and rip and tear if it gets too wet. Now you can watercolor on our basic white cardstock, but you have to be a little extra careful not to get it too wet or not to work over it too much, because it will start to soak, the water will soak in and it will rip and tear. But watercolor paper is really sweet for watercoloring because it will blend and you can work it and add more water, add more color, and so you get a nice effect. Okay, now to actually add your color, there's several different ways as well. We're going to do ink today, so I've got my Blushing Bride and my Sahara Sand ink here. Another way to add color is to take your Stampin' Write markers and just scribble on your acrylic block, and then you can use your brush or your water painter to pick up the color from that. Now don't use your blends for watercoloring because those are alcohol markers, and those are they dry too quickly, and that's just gonna be a mess. So you want to use just the Stampin' Write markers if you're gonna try that. Another way to watercolor is with your watercolor pencils. So you always want to get your watercolor paper wet first, and then you can just kind of add, just really lightly add some color there, and you can see it's picking up kind of some of the texture of the watercolor paper, and you can go over it and blend it a little bit like that to lighten it up. So that's a nice way to do it. So there's all the different ways. Now let me move everything aside and we'll start on the card for today. Okay, so let me get my little kit out here. Okay, we're going to fold our card. It's going to go together pretty quickly because we don't have a lot of pieces. We're going to adhere our pretty shiny paper. Everything I'm using today, for the most part, is from the Love You Always suite in the mini catalog. So it's going to be really easy to find it there. The only exception is for this card, I used the Posted For You bundle that's in the annual catalog, and it comes with this fun punch. And this is a fun bundle for Valentine's Day or any occasion really, because it has some bird stamps, flowers, special delivery, just a note, happy birthday even. So I really like this this bundle, and I've been using it a lot. And of course the postage punch is really fun, and I sent everybody I think 5 cutouts from the watercolor paper, so you have a spare if you need an extra one. Of course you can always use both sides too. So let me see, where are my little pieces here? Probably still in the envelope. There we go. Yeah, so let me grab my 4 pieces here. And I decided to do, let's see, I'm going to do 2 of them with my Blushing Bride and 2 with my Sahara Sands. So now one way to get some ink is to squeeze right here, and then when you open it up, you're going to have a little bit of ink here. These new pads don't squeeze as nicely as the old ones, so I actually took a little bit of my re-inker and placed it in there to grab some ink. And another way to do that, of course, you could do the same thing we did with the marker and put a little drop of ink on your acrylic block to grab it. Okay, so now let me find my large pen, which I can't see in all this. Oh, there it is. It was hiding it, so it's a little hard to find. And I've got a paper towel here too, so when I'm done with a color, or if I just want to see how I'm doing, I can just brush it onto that color, the paper towel there. Okay, so I'm gonna, oops, I always forget you want to wet your pieces first. So we're gonna wet them first. And if you're afraid your piece is gonna buckle, you can wet it on both sides. These probably won't because they're small, but sometimes when you have a large piece, it will buckle a little bit. So you wanna, in that case, wet it on both sides. Okay, now I'm gonna grab some of this ink and we'll move it around a little bit because I don't want it too strong. I want it just a background. So we'll add a little water by squeezing the brush. And I'm going to test it first on my paper towel. It's kind of a little bit dark, so add a little more water there. Okay, now I'm going to go and brush it across. And I'm not going all the way to the edge because I want it to kind of have that white space on the side. So you can always come back and add a little more. It's easier to add more. It's a little harder to take it away, although you can kind of brush it out a little if you feel like you have too much. Okay, so there are 2 blocks. I don't know if you can see, but I've just got a very light pink wash on them and kind of a uneven white space around the punch outs there. Okay, move those to the side because those need to dry. It's very important that they are completely dry when you're ready to stamp on them. Now, often with watercoloring, you use Stays-On ink because it is a more permanent ink and it's not going to bleed when you're watercoloring. But since these pieces are completely dry, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my Memento ink because it is a little bit easier to clean up. Let me grab it here. Okay, now on the card sample, I used the Post-it For You stamp set that I just showed you, and these stamps were made perfectly to fit in the postage stamp, but I know a lot of you don't have this one yet, so I wanted to show you a stamp set that I know a lot of you do have, which is Painted Poppies. I know a bunch of people bought this last year when it first came out. It was so popular, and it was also kind of coordinated with Peaceful Moments. So we're going to grab the Happy Birthday stamp out of Peaceful Moments and then some of the flowers out of Painted Poppies and see if we can recreate this card with a different stamp set, because of course anybody that has the kit, you don't have stamped images, so you're going to have to work with what you have on hand. Alright, so I've got my Memento black ink pad there, so we'll do one of these with the Happy Birthday, which fits perfectly in there. Oh, I forgot, I tilted some of these up and down, so I guess that one's going to go that direction. Let's do it like this. Wait a second. That way. Okay, got to get my direction straight here. All right. Of course, you can do whatever variation you want on the theme. You don't have to lay it out exactly like I did. So let's see. Let's try this large poppy stamp. And I wanted to show you something a little different too. This is the first time I tried this, so we'll see how it works. But I wanted to show you how to do masking. I like having that ridge of white around my little postage stamp there. So I'm going to mask this off because my stamp is bigger than my piece of watercolor paper. And I wanted to see what it would look like if I just had that little ridge there so it looked like a real postage stamp. So let me get my poppies inked up. And I don't have to do the top because I'm not going to go that far up, and stamp that. And voila, I've got some little flowers there ready to go. Okay, let's try a different one here. Let's try this one here. This one's a long one, but it actually fits on there except for the bottom. So we'll just let the bottom hang out, and I'll do a little better job of inking it up this time. And I think I need to press down a little harder and hold it for a minute because the watercolor paper is a little porous, so I did a little better job stamping that time. Okay, so what'll we put on this one here? Let's see, we've got one flower left here that I have on a block. So let's do that. That one actually fits perfectly right in that block, so I'll hold it down a little bit. Okay, there, I got a nice dark image on that one. Okay, so I've got my 4 pieces here, and let's see, let's do it like this and be a little different than my sample, which is here. Okay, and I put these on with Stampin' Dimensionals. Or you could just glue them on with any adhesive. So we'll add our little rectangles here. I've got my scraps of Stampin' Dimensionals. I had a couple of them that are almost gone, so I would really like to use these up. Of course, all the little pieces on the edge are great to use as well. So I'm just gonna rip that piece in half, and then we'll be done with that sheet of dimensionals. 1, 2, 3, one more to go. So a watercolor wash is such a nice way to add color in kind of a subtle way. We used it just for a little background on these pieces. You could also do it on a whole sheet and make a large wash, which is pretty as well. But there we go. So we've got our technique card done. The cards are going to go into Unit 11, I believe, in the group. I'll move the videos there. The PDFs are already there, so you have your instruction sheets ready to go in the unit in the group. The measurements are here, color combo, and then the products that I used. And okay, I guess that's it for this card. I'm going to clean up my watercoloring mess, and then we will move on to the next card. Okay, see you in a few minutes.